Hey, what's going on, everyone? So it's been a while since I've made a video. I've been busy coaching baseball all summer long, but I finally have some time. And there were three really big rules just put into baseball for next season that I want to go over, and I want your opinion. I know people are getting very fired up about this stuff. We've talked about it potentially happening in the past, and people were fired up. And so I want your opinions below. Let me know the three new rules that will take place next year. The first one is a pitch clock. So with nobody on, there'll be 15 seconds allowed to make a pitch. With runners on base, there'll be 20 seconds. Hitters will also get one timeout. And they did this in the minor leagues last season and found that it reduced playing time of games by 26 minutes. So it does make the game a little bit quicker. I'll give you my opinion on all these in a second, but let's just get through the rules first. The second rule change is no more shifts. Now this is a big one. I've had people already, not yelling at me, but yelling about the rule change. So really, there's three things that go into it. First thing is you got to play in the dirt. He can't go back onto the grass, which the second baseman, I used to always go back on the grass, even before we really played shifts. So you gotta be in the dirt. The second thing is you can play two infielders on each side of the bag, so you can't put three infielders on one side of the bag anymore, right? So two infielders on each side of the bag. And the last part of it is that you can't move your best defender around the field to the other side of the field. So let's say a righty's up and they pull the ball a lot, and you have your shortstop play your normal shortstop position. But then let's say a lefty comes up who pulls the ball a lot on the ground. You can't take your shortstop and flip them with your second baseman and flip spots, okay? Unless it's a substitution. You can't just position them in different spots though. So those are the rules for the shift. And then the third new rule is the bases are just going to get bigger. So instead of 15 inches, they're going to be 18 inches. Okay, so let's go one by one through all of them, and I want you to give me your opinion of them. I'm going to start off by this, okay? Saying this. And this is the way I coach in our leagues now. It doesn't really matter what league I coach in, and rules change for me. Our high school rules were different than our summer ball, travel ball rules. Certain tournaments play by different rules. I've always had this opinion. I know that I might be in the minority. I've always had the opinion of this. Just tell me the rules. I just want to know them, and I'll play by them. As long as we're both playing by them, and it's the same rules for everyone, then I'm perfectly fine, okay? So none of these rules really drive me crazy. I know baseball is one of those sports where a lot of fans get very attached to the way the game is played, and they don't like change. And it seems like other sports kind of change rules around all the time, and it doesn't drive everyone nuts. But baseball, fans typically get angry, and that's what I've seen at least so far. Let's start with the pitch clock rule. For me, I'm a huge baseball fan. I just went to the Red Sox game a couple days ago. I sat there. I never once said, man, this game is moving way too slow, okay? Now, are there times throughout the game where I'm like, please get in the box? Like, there's some hitters and there's some pitchers that take forever. Yes, once in a while, I'm like, come on, man, get in the box. But it doesn't really bother me that much. I don't say, I'm never watching baseball again because of this, okay? But I understand that the game can move a little bit slow and feel a little bit slow compared to some other sports. And so trying to reduce game times, and game times have, at times gotten really, really long. Okay. For me personally, again, I didn't need the rule change, but I'm not going to get mad that the game has to move a little bit faster. I think hitters and pitchers will both adjust to it. They've done it in the minor leagues. I think they'll be fine. I think after a little while, no one will ever even realize that there's a clock, okay? So I don't think it's that big of a deal for the pitch clock. Let's go to the defensive shifts. Okay, defensive shifts, I know a lot of people get mad. I made a video a little while ago saying that personally, I really don't care. You should be able to play your defenders wherever you want. And as a hitter, you should be able to either, if you want to just stick to your game plan and you pull the ball, great, go for it. If you want to bunt, make an adjustment, make the adjustment. Stay on the ball, go the other way, right? So I was a fan of just learning how to play around the shifts. Now, with the shift rule now in place, I am not going to say this is terrible. Some people are saying that. All right, I'm fine. I'm fine with it. It does a couple of things. One, it does, as a defensive player, it does bring defense a little bit more into the game, right? So like, you can sometimes hide a defender if you're able to shift guys over. So let's say you have a guy that's not a great defender, you can kind of help that player out by having three guys on one side of the infield, right? So now you've got to be a little bit more defensive. You got to be a little bit more athletic. You're going to have to cover a little bit more ground because there's only two of you over there now instead of three of you, okay? It also is going to encourage, I do think, putting the ball in play a little bit more, and for certain hitters, not thinking that there's, I've got to either hit a home run or I'm going to be out, because if I hit anything on the ground, I can't get it through 3 infielders. I know people say we just hit the ball the other way. I understand that, and I'm fine with that. But I do think there are certain hitters that, probably do try to hit the ball in the air a little bit more, because they got to get it through the shift, and if they hit it on the ground, it ain't going to happen. So it should encourage some more balls being put in play, because that should reduce strikeouts, not trying to lift the ball as much. Again, totally fine with this new rule. If they didn't change it, I wouldn't have really cared. They change it, cool. The third one, bigger bases. Now, bigger bases, player safety, gives a little bit more room. I actually see it a lot at our younger level. And, I made a video about it, something happening in college baseball back in the regionals. Having a bigger base, a little bit more room, I'm fine with that. Lets the first baseman on those plays, especially balls that are hit to the catcher, that the catcher's throwing to the first baseman, or the pitcher has to field and throw to the first baseman. Sometimes it gets really close with first baseman and runner. You have collisions, you have first baseman getting hurt, sometimes you have runners getting hurt, and so it gives you a little bit more leeway there, a little bit more room. Player safety, perfectly fine with the bigger bases. It is actually going to make the distance a little bit closer, because the base is going to get bigger, obviously, and so the distance between bases are going to be slightly smaller, so that might have a small effect on the game as well. So that will be interesting to see what happens there. But they're claiming that this is a player safety thing. Now, the players actually, they had a vote, and players actually didn't want this. Players Association put out a statement saying that the only one they really agreed with was the bases for player safety, but they didn't want the pitch clock, and they don't want the banning of shifts. And so they put out a statement saying that they're not happy about this. So players don't want those two. But I'm interested again in what your opinion is. Again, for me, I'm not someone that gets super caught up in this stuff. I've played against coaches all the time, and coaches. You really don't get called a manager until you're in pro ball. But I play against coaches all the time that like flip out. Like I'll go to home plate and we'll talk about the rules, and they'll start like flipping out. What do you mean this is the rule? We don't do that. We do that. And I'm always like, just tell me the rules, man. I'll tell the team. Like, I really don't care. I just want to know the rules. So some people get super, super upset about this stuff. And some of these rules obviously have been in place. Like, we've never had a pitch clock before. So we're talking about baseball's been around for a long time. And so this will be different, will be new. But I do think, like most things, I'm a huge sports fan. I'm a huge basketball fan, a hockey fan, football fan, really a football fan. But every sport, right? And again, there's all these new rules that are always being put in place. And at first it's like, oh, yeah, this is like, I noticed the new rule. And then before long, it's like, you totally forget about it. It just becomes part of the game. I think it'll happen again with baseball. But let me know what you think in the comment section below about these new rules. That's all I've got. Thanks for watching. I'll try to make some more videos now that my travel season is over as we move into fall ball. And I'm home a little bit more and not on the road every single day of the summer. So we'll talk to you later.